Hi, and welcome to another B2B R&D Blab. And today our topic is digital marketing, as always. I'm Ellen Williams, CEO of B2B R&D, joined here by my partner and COO, Craig Yaris. And we've been chatting a lot this morning at different times off Blab about different aspects of how people are using social media. And one of the things that we were talking about is the difference between Facebook and LinkedIn. Now, any of you who use Facebook and LinkedIn, you know there's a big difference,
right?
But we're finding people aren't using them as differently as we think they should be.
They're not using them right. They're not playing right.
Right, man, the rules, dude.
Come on.
So Craig, I'm going to throw it to you first, and then I obviously have thoughts of my own, as we always do. But what are your thoughts on how you're finding people using LinkedIn and how you're finding people using Facebook as they try to communicate with you?
See, I use LinkedIn, use Facebook, obviously, but I consider my personal Facebook profile a personal Facebook profile. I don't tend to connect with people when we're presenting, the attendees. I won't tend to connect with them. They send requests, and I tend not to do anything with them. Because to me, my personal profile is that. You know, there's people I'm friends with from work settings, but they're because I'm friends with them. I know them outside of the work environment. LinkedIn for me, strictly business for the most part. And I have no problem connecting with just about anybody on LinkedIn. So to me, I look at it and say, okay, I'm using LinkedIn and Facebook properly. If you want to connect with me on Facebook for business, I've got the B2B R&D Facebook page. By all means, like the page, talk to me there, message me. You and I both get that information, so we'd be happy to have that conversation with you. You want to connect with me on LinkedIn, go right ahead. People I've noticed, and this was the conversation we were having, I hope I'm not like jumping on your thoughts, but some people look at Facebook, their personal profile, as one of the ways they're going to do business, and they will friend everybody. If they meet you at a networking event, you're getting a friend request. And to me, that's just, I don't know, I feel like it crosses a little bit of the line. My Facebook profile is open. If you go to it, you'll see pictures of my kids. I don't hide it. But that's to sort of help me build trust with you. You know, I have kids, you have kids. We can give us some common ground. If you have a question, you'll feel more comfortable talking to me. But I don't necessarily want to have that personal connection after just meeting at a networking event, or having you see me present something. And maybe that's me, but that's sort of my view. But LinkedIn, connect with me all you want. Send me messages. I find people, and I think you and I have spoken about this. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to remember if it was on Blab or not, about people doing the hard sales. They connect with you and you instantly get that email message that says, hey, buy my product. Don't like that, but connect with me all you want on LinkedIn. And I know you have both similar and different views.
Well, I think it's interesting that you're using the official terminology, right? You friend on Facebook, your friends, and your connections on LinkedIn, and they ask to connect. And I think that's the premise of those social media platforms, and that was the concept in the beginning. And I also agree that when you're out doing public speaking, people do try to connect with you in very many ways, including trying to friend you on Facebook. But when we start talking about the networking, as you mentioned, I think anything about networking, if you're just meeting someone the first time, you're not going to get much from that anyway. So you have to build that relationship. But when you're out networking on a regular basis and you do run into a handful of the same people, whether it's a handful of places or sometimes just about everywhere. I've seen one woman 3 times in the last 2 weeks, which is fine, because then you start to build that relationship. And so over time, all of a sudden, you get that
Right.
friend request, now it's more than just someone you met at a networking event.
Right.
But how do you define friend? And so back to what you were saying, that people do have their Facebook personal profile as part of their business strategy. I think what I'm starting to see, and I'm guilty of, is friending those business associates that you network with, because in actuality, you are almost building a friendship with them, even though you know that the majority of the time, what they're going to be talking about is their business on
Mm-hmm.
their Facebook personal page. There's an element of, well, if I don't friend you on Facebook and I see you tomorrow at the networking event because I saw you at 5 last week and 10 the week before, when does that turn into a friend versus a connection? And
That,
and then the second thing is, connect with me all you want on LinkedIn. Well, that's not 100% the way LinkedIn's supposed to work either,
right.
right? So it's almost like you're using LinkedIn the way Facebook people are using Facebook. Friend, friend, friend. No, don't friend me. Just connect, connect, connect. But yet, I wouldn't do that on LinkedIn, because I think my LinkedIn profile and the connections I have there, I try hard to connect with people I really, on some level, know. Do I know everybody? If I go through my list, can I tell you where I met them and what they do and who they are? No, because sometimes people do, after a presentation, connect with you on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, but you know it's a professional connection.
Mm-hmm.
So they're parallel in many ways, but they don't cross the streams, right? They shouldn't be in the same thing on both, right?
um, yes, and I do connect with people on LinkedIn a little bit more freely because I look at my network as a conduit. So if somebody looks at my network and says, "Oh my God, you know so and so, is there anything you can do to help me with that?" I would be more willing to do that on LinkedIn than if somebody on Facebook friended me and said, "Oh, I'd really love to be friends, with these people." To me, that does cross that line somehow.
But if you're connecting with people that you don't really know, how do you help them connect with someone if you don't know? Like, say, like
That's
you and I
true.
obviously know each other. So I go to your LinkedIn and go, "Oh, I didn't realize you were connected with, John. Can you introduce me to John? Oh, he's one of the ones that I don't know." I mean, I'm okay with that personally. I
Mhm.
don't know everybody, and I'm okay with saying, well, I really haven't developed a great relationship with this person yet. We've just connected. But some people are really put off by that.
Yeah, and I think my answer to you would be sort of a little bit more in depth. I would say, I don't really know John right now. We've been connected since so and so, but allow me to reach out to him and learn a little bit more about him and get to know him, and I'll see if I can do something for you. So I would be willing to take that step for somebody on LinkedIn.
Right.
I don't think I would do that on Facebook.
Are you getting requests from people to friend your friends?
Um,
Have you ever gotten somebody say, "Gee, you're friends with so and so. Can I be friends with them
well,
too?"
can I tell you, but not in that way, but I've got, and I said this to you before, I have about 8 friend requests on Facebook that I haven't done anything with. And I look at them, I'm like, I don't know you, but it says we have this person in common. So what that person did is they got a people you may know and just clicked friend. So it's sort of the same thing. It's using a relationship I have. I mean, I don't know that person. We've never met. We don't, and Facebook likes to do that people you may know. LinkedIn does it too, which is
Yes.
surprising based upon the fact that for so long you would need to prove a connection to connect. But if you look at that on LinkedIn, if you go through the people you may know and just click connect, it automatically sends the connection request. You don't get to
I
edit
know,
it.
you don't get to type anything.
No, but here's the problem with that. LinkedIn was built on the fact that if you don't have a relationship, you shouldn't connect with people. But yet they want you to connect with people you don't know.
But they're saying, "Do you know them?" I mean, I have to say, I'm probably not connected on LinkedIn with everyone I know,
Of course
just
not.
because I haven't thought about going to
Right.
LinkedIn to connect with them. So to have them potentially pop up would be like, oh yeah, I do know them. So
Yes, I see that.
if I get a connection request from someone I actually know and it just says, hey, I want to connect, I'm okay with that because
If you
I
know them.
realize, yeah, because I don't need the whole backstory in the
I
invitation.
agree. But the thing is, with some of those, I don't know them.
Yeah. Well,
And I can just click connect. And now I've built my network by one.
no, you've only made the invitation.
Right. And do you find, and I actually did do this, about 2 weeks ago, I went through the connection requests I've sent but not gotten replies to. And I've never done it before. I didn't have
No, I
that
haven't
many.
done that.
Yeah, I haven't done that many. I haven't had that many. But I went through them and I'm like, really? That person didn't accept my connection request? How rude. And deleted the request. So you can, because LinkedIn does keep track of the number of requests you send and the ones that are ignored. And if you send too many that are ignored, they consider you spamming and they'll begin to stop that. So I wanted to go through that list and pare it down a little bit. I think I had 8
Ah,
over
yeah, I'm sure it's
how
not
many
that
years
big.
have I been on LinkedIn?
Sure. No, I've never done that. That's interesting. But, I don't know how much I would read into them not connecting with you unless you
I do.
see them active. Some people set up their account and just aren't there. And depending on what email address you have for someone, if you don't see them on LinkedIn, you can send them you can try to connect with them and say,
Right.
hey, come to, I was at an event 2 weeks ago and someone said, I have like 4 LinkedIn accounts. And we were like, why? And he's like, because I guess he has, like, I have my personal email address. And if it's the only one you have and you try to find me on LinkedIn and I'm not there, then there's a function of LinkedIn where you want to connect with me. I'm not on LinkedIn, so I get an email at that address saying, hey,
Hey,
someone wants you to come to LinkedIn. And
sure.
if you're not savvy enough to understand that's what's happening, this guy unfortunately went down that road and made a new profile. So that guy has the one friend over there and 2 friends over here. I mean, I have to say I probably have 6 or 7 email addresses.
Oh, I
So if
have,
anybody decided to look up one of those and they weren't connected on LinkedIn, I mean, at this point, people would know better as far as looking for me, right? If they've just got a weird email address, go look for my name.
right.
But other people wouldn't necessarily understand that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
it.
you've got these multiple link, and he's like, "What do I do with that?" And we were like, "Get rid of them."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
here's something that's interesting, and it was something you brought up when you were talking about people using Facebook for business. Um, Technically, Facebook's terms of service, I haven't read them recently within the last year, but they forbid you from doing that.
Well, I have to say, um, it's subtle. So we're having an event right on December 2nd,
Right.
and some
Yeah.
people who I'm friends with on Facebook are going. So they'll post something to the effect of, "Hey, are you going to this? I'm a sponsor." So they're conducting business. They're not saying come buy from me. You're not saying any of that, but it's still not a personal
Nope.
conversation.
Nope, it's not. And I think that's along the lines. Now, I don't recall if, doing business on personal profiles is defined. That's something I don't recall offhand. But to me, that would constitute doing business. And technically, we don't own Facebook. We don't own the content that's there. Although it's our content, they can't use it. Our Facebook profiles and pages could disappear tomorrow. There's a really large, and I could say it, Social Media Examiner's Facebook page has disappeared twice in the last week. It
Really?
just, yes, it's disappeared. And people who tagged it, if you actually click on the tag, it goes somewhere else. I don't
Wow.
recall where. So big issue that
Yeah,
they've been
I would
sorting out.
know.
Yeah. But realize that it could have been an issue that Facebook took the page down, and they can do that. They
But you're
can,
talking about an actual business page.
yeah, oh, they can do that too.
I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you're not talking about a personal profile that
I actually,
wasn't behaving right. You're talking
but
about a business page.
they can do it with a personal profile too. I have a
Sure.
friend, she lives in like Virginia, West Virginia, I don't remember where, and like to engage in conversations that, were charged politically, religiously. And I guess enough people complained and Facebook shut down the account. There's no hearing, there's no due process. It's okay, your account's gone. And, there's no way to get it back. So it's a danger for people. And I always worry about these things. I worry about people.
Well, I think if you're that's very sweet, Craig. I think if your strategy is to use your Facebook personal profile to help your business, and it's your only strategy, then you're on thin ice,
I agree
right?
completely.
If my Facebook profile page went away tomorrow, I'd be sad because there were people I'm connected with just on Facebook that I'm not connected with elsewhere, and I'd have to go back and start a new Facebook page. There's probably, I mean, any pictures I
Yeah.
have up there, I have the pictures. So it would sort of be like, oh, bummer, but it wouldn't be devastating, and
Okay.
for one good reason, because you and I are both administrators on the business page.
Yes.
Now, if I didn't have a secondary administrator on my business page,
It's
it would
gone.
be much more detrimental to my business.
Yep.
Because a Facebook business page is a much better strategy than a personal page. But again, I mean, what if Facebook just went away tomorrow? We still have 6 or 7 other social media platforms, and we have our blog, and we have our website.
Absolutely.
So you really can't rely. You can't put any of your marketing in one bucket, but you certainly can't rely exclusively on social media to be your online presence, because you hit the nail on the head. You don't own it.
Right. On any of them. Twitter could disappear tomorrow. Look, they're sort of trying to reinvent themselves over, new president. So they're sort of trying to find their footing. Instagram, Snapchat, they're all growing, but, Facebook could decide tomorrow, you know what, Instagram was fun, but, we're done. Time to, we're going to buy Snapchat now and use that instead. So it is a difficult thing for people when that's their sole avenue to others.
Right.
They need to.
And the bottom line is, it just shouldn't be.
Right.
It can't be. It can't be for a business.
No.
It's just not right. It's bad.
No.
It's bad. It's a bad idea. It's a bad plan.
It is
bad to be exclusive to one platform.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's scary because there are plenty of companies that I can think of that are doing that. Small businesses that really that's their only avenue. They don't, they don't think about SEO as a, part of it. They don't think about ads. They don't think about print. It's just, how you growing? Social media. And it's a scary thing because this could all be gone tomorrow. And
Good.
yeah, it's not, but Twitter could change. They've talked for a while now. We've seen it talked about a few times that they're going to increase the size of the tweets that you can do from 140 characters. Hasn't happened yet, but
they increased the direct message size.
Yeah, but they do that, and all of a sudden, Twitter is no longer the same platform it was. It's changed, evolved.
Yeah, I would like for them not to do that.
Me too.
Or if they're going to increase it, I mean, I'm curious where 140 came from. Maybe go 200, but I don't want to see the big.
I agree.
Posts.
It's not a blog.
No,
and
it's a micro blog.
Yeah, I think the 140 came from the text message realm. Remember, when SMS started, it could only send, or it was created to only send, I think, 140 or 160 characters.
There you go. There you go.
And I think, I read the book, quite a few books on Twitter's founding and can't recall specifically, but I think that was the basis for it.
So welcome to our new guest, and there's an open seat. So we certainly invite you if you'd like to come on video. and share your thoughts. It's just
Yeah.
open conversation on digital marketing. We happen to start with social media and use of Facebook versus LinkedIn, and now we've rolled over into Instagram and Twitter.
We just well here's something else. You and I had been talking in the Need to Know email for a few months about Facebook releasing their Notify or their news app, and it came out yesterday. And I think they're looking to kick Twitter while they're down, because they're looking to take over as the go-to news source. It's, I think, iPhone only right now. Android app coming soon. And it's interesting. As we were sitting here, my phone is sort of here, and I noticed a notification from the Notify app that a news story came up. I have no idea what it was, but they're looking to take over the lock screen on our phones and just give us the breaking news as it happens, both local and national. So I think it's an interesting strategy. It's going to be right here on my phone. Twitter, great news source, love it, but I have to access the Twitter app. I have to, read through the news feed. I don't get notifications just of tweets, but this app is going to give you that news right, they're going to smack you with it. Do you think that's going to hurt Twitter in the short run, long run? Thoughts?
That's interesting. I don't use Twitter that way. So for my usage, it might be nice to have that function from Facebook because I'm going to use Twitter slightly differently anyway. Competition is good. There may start to be a social media loyalty wars going on, because it used to be social media platforms were unique. What you did on Twitter, you did slightly differently on LinkedIn, you did slightly differently on Facebook, and then Pinterest and Instagram and everything else really had their own unique flavor. So now you've got, Twitter and Facebook starting to have a bit of overlap. Specifically on the news, and then Twitter changing from favorites to likes. So, you are definitely going to see a change in the way people are using them both. I don't know that it would specifically hurt Twitter, only because I think they still have enough uniqueness between the two of them that the fact that they both have a similar service around delivering news, if Twitter is delivering it in a way that's consistent with the way their users use them, then it's perfect.
Okay.
And if Facebook came out with this specifically in a different way because it matches the way Facebook users use Facebook, then that makes sense too. I'm not sure. I think it's going to damage or hurt Twitter, but I'll ask you this: how does that app then open any doors for marketers using Facebook?
It doesn't. It's strictly a news delivery service. Today, will they incorporate it somehow into the main Facebook app? Who knows? But I don't see right off, mind you, I've used it for all of probably less than 24 hours. I don't see that, although, they can start to sell ads within the articles that you're getting. So I guess it's a possibility.
Now, it's a standalone app, but
Yes.
Do you have to be a Facebook user to use it?
I have no idea. Allow me to check.
Okay, as you check, I'll give you the reason I asked that question. From a marketing standpoint, so you brought up the opportunity for advertising. So the Notify app is going to be front and center on your phone, and you're reading the news, and now I can advertise on those articles. So that's number one. But if the Notify app becomes very popular, but you have to be a Facebook user in order to use it, so now you've got, not that they need any more users because there are over 1 billion, but you might have more loyal users, more, you may up the ante on how frequently you use Facebook, and that in turn could definitely benefit a marketer that now I'm more, more apt to use Facebook and go to Facebook because they keep pinging me with things of value.
Right.
Oh yeah, I should log on, and now you've got the advertising and marketing going on Facebook as this Notify app brings users back to the news feed as well.
That's very interesting. And something else that you said sort of caught my attention. I had asked you if you thought it would hurt Twitter. And, we were talking about loyal users. However, I did a quick Google search, and third quarter 2015, Facebook was at 1.65 billion users, over a billion monthly active users. Twitter is only at 370 million as of the third quarter 2015 monthly active. So you're really, that's a huge discrepancy in monthly active users from 300 million to a billion. A billion's a lot of people. It's funny to say it, that a billion people log on to Facebook monthly, actively.
Right.
So really, will it have any effect if it's already such a big discrepancy? Will the news app do anything? I don't know.
I would love to be able to dig further into that information because, quite honestly, if I'm on Facebook, the grand majority of the time that I'm on Facebook, it's personal. I'm not really doing business. I don't tend to like many business pages because I do use Twitter and LinkedIn for business. So if I'm part of that statistic, which I obviously am, I'm conversing on a personal level, and the number of times I've actually clicked a Facebook ad over the 6 years I've been on Facebook might be 6 times. So the usage I have on Twitter is a very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be interested. Those numbers look great, a billion versus the 300 million. But if the 300 million active on Twitter are more apt to retweet or be engaged on Twitter because the content is small. And what does active mean? If I'm active on Facebook, am I telling my sister that the picture of her and her daughters looks great? But if I'm active on Twitter, and Twitter can be anything, it doesn't have to be business.
Right.
So if I'm a football fan and all I do is talk about football on Twitter, my network are wind up people talking about football, and so there's no business element there at all. But if I'm conversing on Twitter, I have to say my audience on Twitter, the followers I have on Twitter, are much more in alignment with my business than the bit of randomness of people who will like me on Facebook, who may in some ways just be my friends, and they're doing me a favor by liking my Facebook page. So that active user, the number looks great, and statistics can be twisted all sorts of ways.
Oh God, yeah.
When you start digging into the data, which is where the truth lies, numbers are great, but what activity are they having, and how is that going to be effective for me to get some ROI from these social media platforms? So I asked our guest here if they used Twitter or Facebook, and
she had said she doesn't use either as much. In fact, she's
as much as she should, should. So there's a bigger question, right? How much should?
What is should?
Social? Yeah.
But I can understand, Sherry, that for you, Blab would be an interesting platform. Because you get to meet people face to face, a little bit more personal. And I worry because you had indicated you're using your personal Facebook profile for business. And I do worry, we had talked about that before you got here. And like I said earlier, I worry about people. And it is, again, Facebook does frown upon people using their personal profile, their friend profile for business. Oh, okay. You just display your art.
But I think to her point on the comments on the right here, her point was, well, people want us to meet the person behind the brand, and totally agree.
Absolutely.
But I think Craig would agree with me that you can accomplish that on a business page, especially with a very personal business where you are your own business. I don't think that you have to be limited to just your Facebook personal profile to have that connection with people. You can be very, very transparent and authentic about who you
Sure.
are on your business page. And certainly one benefit, one important benefit of a Facebook business page is that it's public.
Yep.
And you can find it through Google and Bing searches. You don't have to just be on Facebook to find it.
And what about ads? You can't run ads from a personal profile. You have to have a business page to run ads and get analytics. So you don't know who's seeing what of your posts. To me, that may be a reason enough to have that business page.
Well, I did say it was only one benefit.
Okay. Sure.
But in any case, you know, the friends you've developed on Facebook, some of them, and we'll go back to what we were saying before, some of them are actual friends and some of them, you know, may be more business acquaintances that you've friended. You can definitely invite them over to your Facebook business page so you don't have to lose the momentum you've already started.
Right.
But I think the business page just opens up opportunity that the personal page was never meant to do in the first place. But still allows you to have that personal connection.
I completely agree. There's a law firm I know of, and wonderful person who runs it. They do sort of like bankruptcy law, I guess, or foreclosure defense, financial, whatever. Don't even really know. But they take in, they do service dog training. And so whenever they get the new puppies that they work on, you know, integrating into everyday life, they always post pictures of them. And it's such a great way to connect with people because it shows them, you know, they're playing with the puppy. The puppy's, you know, making a mess all over the place, ripping up, you know, the pillow and the bone. And it's just a good way, I think, to connect with people, especially because people love animals and they're doing something to help. And it's a great thing. And they do it on their business page. So it allows you to be personable. You get all those extra tools. I'm a big fan. I know, Ellen, you're not necessarily a business page fan.
It's a slow growth for me.
Right.
But
it is.
Most likely because of my past. So the last time I owned a business, Facebook business pages weren't there. And then I worked for a large corporation who had their own, and then they had a team of, you know, local representatives, and we each had our own local Facebook pages. But I never felt that was growing my area. I always felt that LinkedIn was doing a better job growing my area. But now, you know, back as the co-founder of this business, you know, I have to look at it through new eyes.
Right.
And it's slowly better understanding. And of course, the tools are getting better. You know, I mean, Facebook doesn't stand still for longer than 2 days. So the opportunities are different than they were even last year.
The opportunities are different than they were last month.
Yeah.
Their new carousel ads that we've been reading about, they're only about a month old, and they're getting better click-through rates than static ads.
Static, yep.
So everything changes. And Sherry, you had mentioned that you didn't have much success, and Ellen had, you know, said they're trial and error, and they are. And the ad products change so frequently, and they're so inexpensive that it is worth giving that a try again and just seeing how it works. It's
really it's the engagement too. I mean,
yes.
You know, when you say an ad didn't work, there are multiple variables on any digital ad. You know, the audience that you went for, the geography you went for, the image, the text that you used, and all of that becomes part of the experiment. And so maybe a different image or depending on what you were promoting on the ad, were you promoting, coming to an event where you were going to be? Were you promoting having you go to an event they were hosting? What service were you promoting, and maybe the time of year? So when it comes to advertising, the nice thing about digital advertising is that you can learn quickly,
Right.
and be nimble, and you can stop an ad and you can modify it versus, say, a print ad that you've gone through the process of designing and then bought the ad space, and if that doesn't work, you don't really have the opportunity to change it up and experiment. And also the good thing about digital advertising is it can be inexpensive depending on what your keywords are and what your demographic is. You're bidding against other people trying to reach the same audience. So if you can be unique in some way, you can really keep your costs down. So
Yep.
yeah, I definitely encourage you to develop a Facebook business page. You can certainly continue to be very personable there, and then when you're ready, give the advertising another shot.
And like you said, it's the advantage is how nimble and how quick you can make changes. Facebook ads, Google ads too, you can monitor on an hour-by-hour basis and change and adjust as you need to, which it's sort of the benefit of it. So what may not be successful, you could turn into something successful. And like Ellen said, it's all about the target. If you don't really know who you're trying to reach, it may be the perfect ad, but, could be the wrong target.
Yep.
I just saw something go by. I didn't know what it was. Sorry about that.
But, advertising and marketing is, they're definitely two different things. Although part of a bigger campaign, I think, when you start talking about getting the word out there and utilizing digital in any sort of way, I think advertising is part of the mix. But it really has to be integrated with the marketing, the communication you're doing, the engagement you're having, the types of information you're posting on a regular basis that sort of starts to draw your community and your network around you. And then the advertising is sort of that next layer that branches out to people who aren't already connected to build awareness and help build that community.
Mm-hmm. And I'm actually, Sherry hasn't joined us, live, but I'm going to ask her because she's still here. Have you tried, especially with such a visual service, caricatures? Pinterest and Instagram would seem to be a really great place to maybe jump in with both feet because of their visual nature. You could Instagram a video of you actually doing a caricature and speed it up and
well, they go pretty quick to begin with, right?
Yeah,
some of them,
but you speed it up and all of a sudden it's boom, caricature, and it may be a great way for you to interact with people on a level that you may not be currently. So that's something you may want to think about.
Yeah, I agree, because it's such a visual business. Instagram and Pinterest I would agree with that. Those would be, as long as it's the right audience.
Of course.
Instagram, I think, if I had to pick between the two of them, I would start with Instagram. What do you think? Instagram comes off young and fun to me.
Right, yes.
Pinterest, someone once said to me, Pinterest is the past, and Instagram, or is it the opposite? One of them's the past and the other one's the future.
Really? I'm curious what that meant.
I think one is the past and one is the present. I think because Instagram, although the people I'm following on Instagram, I see this less. It used to be, you were taking a shot of what you were doing and you were sharing it. So it was very much the now. Okay. A lot of the images I see on Instagram now are some of the least favorite things of mine, images of text, right? They've created a graphic with some text. Right. I can see that on Facebook. I can even see it on LinkedIn. And certainly Google Plus does a lot of that. But Instagram really was more about activity and what was going on and a story. I don't see that as much. It's certainly not gone. But Pinterest is sort of they're bulletin boards, right? So they're
Yeah.
either things you've collected for something, or maybe you're planning a trip and you've sort of made a bulletin board about the place you want to go. I mean, there's all sorts of ways of using Pinterest. But so if I had to pick between the two of them for Sherry, I think I would start with Instagram, because it still feels sort of young and fun, and it goes a little faster to me than Pinterest goes, because Pinterest is just I don't know. Pinterest feels like
static.
it's not static, but a single thing that builds upon itself. Where Instagram feels like it's just they're individual, so you get it and go. That's just.
But is it the young and fun, quote unquote, people who would purchase caricatures?
Well, I think so. I think because that's why I said, because they're fun.
Okay.
Because they're interesting, they're fun. I mean, my first caricature was probably when I was a kid. My parents didn't do it. Now, my latest one was as I was an adult, and I went with my kids, but I did sit and do it. Because I remember as a kid it being fun.
Yep.
And who knows, my daughters may, as an adult, go, I remember doing this as a kid. It's one of those fun things.
Right? I haven't done it in forever.
So,
Sorry.
Caricatures, and maybe she'll jump in. Is they do go quickly. The artist is drawing, and then they look up and they're right back to their art. And my recent caricature, so a little off topic here, but my recent caricature, they did Rob first. My husband Rob, we're both in the same picture. So they did Rob first, and he's standing behind the artist watching them draw me. And, I'm thinking, I'm sitting here still. For a split second, I look over at my husband and I go, and that's, the artist looked at me right as I did that. And
that was the face.
It looks. So my son looks at it and goes, "What are you, a turtle?" Because it was like this weird face.
But
I didn't like it at first.
I could see that expression.
I didn't like it at first. I was a little disappointed, but now it's hysterical. It's growing on me. It's up in the den, and I look at it and I laugh because I'm like, that was my own fault. I made the silly face while someone was drawing my face.
Well, someone's drawing a silly picture of you.
Well, yes, a not perfect, picture. Yeah, and that's okay. It's all good. But in any case, let's get back to digital marketing. And ways in which we can reach people. So we're focusing a lot on social media today, but we're open to any conversations, or if anyone wants to, we have a few guests now, anyone wants to jump on the seat and contribute to the conversation.
Absolutely.
We have about 15 minutes left. So we can stick with social media, or, feel free to change the topic, Craig, if you have anything else that's new and exciting, or.
Well, going along with some of the things we've talked about, Instagram has a tool called Boomerang. I think it's Instagram. It's hard to keep these straight sometimes, which will allow you to stitch together a bunch of pictures and sort of create a quick movie. And I was just, as we're talking, I'm thinking of Sherry and how she can, her process and use that app. And it's just another way to engage people. And that can then be shared to Facebook. And it's, like you said, it's all about the engagement, not so much the ads and not so much the specific content, but the engagement. I think things like that would be very engaging. I think I would enjoy seeing something like that. Not having actually seen a caricaturist in several years that I could, even I go to a bunch of craft fairs and art fairs down here, and I don't know that I've seen one at them, which is interesting.
I saw a caricaturist this week at the Long Island Tech Day.
Really?
Yeah. Right in the table next to mine. The guy was doing caricatures. And so how does that market, like, the guy was with a table, like they had hired him to come. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
you know, so these trade show booths, right? Everyone's vying for attention. So not quite digital marketing, but an extension of
Sure.
marketing. And so the trade show booth had this guy doing caricatures, and the trade show booth, the product they had was a special software that built websites for the healthcare community.
You
And they
mentioned
were
that to me.
doing caricatures. So I'm not sure that there was a direct correlation, but it was probably just, oh, look how, because now there's a line of people. And caricatures are not, you know, a long investment, a long time
Nope.
investment. So there's a line of people standing there waiting, and you've got the trade show guy talking about his stuff with this line of
Yeah.
people right in front of
It's a
them.
captive audience. I would have waited online. I have no interest in a website for the healthcare industry. It's not what I do. It's not a
Right.
clientele we serve. But yet I would wait online and listen to his spiel because I would want a caricature now.
Right.
Now I want
Now,
one.
from a more digital marketing standpoint,
I'm
um,
actually,
the
I'm there.
booth the booth we did, so in our next booth we need a caricature.
Yeah.
The booth we did have technology running, and we did use, as best as possible, we did some digital marketing in person. And this was, you know, relating back to a conversation you and I had months ago about trade shows, where we did have QR codes, although I've gotten a lot of people poo-pooing QR codes.
Yeah.
They actually physically worked at the booth. It was a tech fair, so people were
People are
having an
techy.
expectation of technology. We had a poster that, you know, said, take a picture, take a selfie and put it on Facebook. So there was interaction there. We had the QR code. People were signing up for the newsletter we send out right there at the booth with the QR code. And I had our own product through a projector on the screen actually being shown. So there was a lot of use of digital marketing, you know, use of digital in the marketing at a trade show booth, and it worked. It was a nice mix of talking to someone in person and then being able to direct them to do something digitally. And that was the first time I had really gone down that road, and it really did work well.
That would, you know, and I'm thinking of the idea of the caricature in the digital space. And if, I don't even know if this is something that's possible, and Sherry, maybe you could tell us if it is, but if a caricature is done digitally instead of the old-fashioned hard copy, you know, you've got this iPad Pro that just came out with the pen, and, you know, what if
Very interesting.
caricatures not only sat and did it, but then emailed me the file, and now I've got a great, interesting, you know, profile photo to use on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, something fun. Okay, you do them all digitally. To me, to be able to get that file, that JPEG or whatever, would just be worth the time investment. Otherwise,
okay. I have to stop everything. I have to stop everything.
Stop everything.
I do. We're talking about digital marketing, and we talked about caricatures because the guest in the room does that. She is doing amazing digital marketing. She's using Blab.
Blab. Yes.
She does caricatures on Blab. And you waited until when to tell us? I mean, awesome. And welcome, Nick. So Nick decided to jump on the hot seat.
Here,
open conversation. You know, feel free to join in or ask a question or.
This is Sherry's Blab channel right here. I just did the quick, you know, looked it up.
Awesome.
I am going to now go watch one of these when we're done, just because.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. I think that is amazing. What a different use of the technology.
Very smart.
I wonder if Blab had thought that, you know, hey, we're going to have artists come on and start to caricature people live. And I'm just curious, Sherry, are you doing it while involved?
I know.
I'm just curious because now I'm
we got to get caricatures of this Blab. That's so funny. So Nick, welcome.
Yes, Nick. Sorry, Nick.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So we were talking earlier about LinkedIn and Facebook and how people aren't necessarily using them the way in which they were intended. That there's a lot of business going on Facebook personal pages. Do you use either, and how do you use them?
I'll set up a business page for only because it translates to organic rankings, but I care more about that side of it. So
yeah,
I don't use Facebook very much. I actually use if this then that. That's how much of a social media guy I am.
Did you say you were on LinkedIn too?
No, I don't even set up a LinkedIn, but when I do post to social media, it's if this then that, posting what I did on my website to social media. There's nothing personal about it at all. I'm a terrible person for social media.
But you said it's a business page. So business pages don't have to be, a reflection of you as a person. We were talking earlier with Shari, but her business is a very personalized business. So it would behoove her to be personal. Right. But depending on your business, you can be all business, on a Facebook page. It doesn't have to be personal.
I do think, just from my own opinion, nothing more, that adding the personal into the business does help build that relationship, though. I definitely think so.
When I post things myself and take the time to actually do it properly, I usually get about double the engagement. That's evidence of how lazy of a person I am.
There are tools for that.
I can get half the engagement for 0 of the time.
Okay, so you're going. That's funny. I get half the engagement for 0 effort, so I'm right in there. It does seem a little counterintuitive, though, Nick. I will be honest with you. That is a bit counterintuitive to me.
Well, I don't have a staff, and I'm completely independent. So for me, it's really a matter of maximizing the value of my time.
Gotcha.
Most of my businesses deal with physical products, and the fact is that social media doesn't really make you money with physical products unless you really are passionate about spending all your time on social media. So for me, I put a little bit of effort into it. It gets me a big edge on the organic rankings that really are where I make money with physical products. Is if I show up for a product somebody's searching for in Google, that's guaranteed revenue.
Okay.
What kind of products?
Mostly Chinese herbal medicine, but I do a lot of different products. I'll do anything that I would consider to be consumable and evergreen. So,
okay,
I don't have preference.
When you say,
I would think,
go ahead.
I would think products like that would be really easy to sell on Facebook.
Seriously.
Especially with a little bit of personal engaging content around them, their usefulness, education around what it does for you.
Have a Facebook store.
I've done Facebook ad campaigns, and I've used Facebook to do the new customer acquisition. It's just like I said before, it's a matter. Everything takes a certain amount of time and effort, and to me, even though there is definitely, I'm not going to say there's not a return on time or effort in social media. For me, it's just the landscape isn't something that I feel like is.
So you're talking about
hourly wage. Let's put it that way.
You're talking about using it to help with the native search results. So are you on Google Plus?
I'll set up a Google Plus page also and use if this and that.
Yeah.
Or actually buffer usually.
Very effective. Very effective, the Google Plus page.
It is.
The network itself is not, I don't think it ever got to where they really wanted it to be. But just being a Google platform itself will help with Google searches.
Yeah, also it's got a ton of authority. We got to turn this timer off. It has a ton of authority as a website.
It does. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So even if you don't, if you just verify your website and have a certain level of engagement on it, the internal links from Google Plus will transfer a ton of domain authority, a ton of ranking power to your website, even though the network is completely useless.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure I would say that.
It's a useless network, really. Like, let's be honest about this. It's unless you're in digital marketing itself, there's nobody on there.
I tend to agree with that. And you had mentioned using Buffer to schedule, which is a great way to use something like Google Plus and not, use it for the authority end of it, not so much the engagement end of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are a handful of tools that will help with the time element there.
Yep. Yeah, my current obsession is buying traffic by buying websites. This is my new go-to. I think is the next big thing in digital marketing.
Explain that. What do you mean by buying traffic by buying websites?
Typically, people who want to buy traffic will go to paid search, like Facebook advertising, Google AdWords, whatever. Mm-hmm. But the best conversion rates actually come for if you rank organically.
Sure.
So you can calculate based on somebody's ranking in the top 10 the amount of traffic they get per month loosely using the ranking tools. And so, I just look around for somebody's, they create these niche AdSense websites to generate passive income.
Okay.
I'll just look around for one of those somewhere where it's getting between like 10 to 20,000 visitors a month on it related to something that is saleable. And then I'll go and offer them to buy that website. Usually you can get them for between $1,000 to $4,000. And then you can basically be buying traffic at wholesale. You're buying it at well under 10 cents per visitor into an educational page that you can then retool to be your marketing content.
So why are they willing to give up the domains at such a low price if they've got good ranking?
Because they're selling their traffic at wholesale with AdSense advertising. So their value of their website is
based upon strictly
based on wholesale traffic value, not based on retail traffic value.
Interesting.
So they'll sell it for a lot less because it's not worth that much to them. Like a website that makes someone $100 a month, usually they're happy to go part ways with it for a couple thousand.
Interesting.
So even if the traffic value is thousands a month, the price that they'll accept it is about what the traffic value for a month is, because they're selling wholesale to Google. They're not selling retail.
All right. Well, there's another whole business model concept. I'm glad this is over because now I have to sit and ponder that, and I wouldn't want to just be sitting here saying nothing.
It's a real business model. It's pretty awesome.
Great. That's a very interesting business model. I hadn't heard that. So we appreciate you coming on board and sort of enlightening us to something that
we had
wasn't even on the radar. Really, really interesting. So we are at the top of the hour and officially ending at the 1 o'clock, even 1:01. So thank you, Nick, for joining us. Thanks, Sherry, for the conversation earlier. Thanks to everybody else who joined us as the hour went along. We are B2B R&D, and we are here every week. We've decided to sort of keep it on Thursdays at noon, since we seem to have gotten a little bit of a following at this time. So hopefully we'll see you next week. We always talk about digital marketing, but there's never an agenda. So come and have your questions or come and have some advice and new ideas, and we hope to see you guys again next week. Thanks,
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Alan.
Bye.
Bye.